stories, which we have done for Freshline, or we can actually just ask the question in a post. So here's an example. This is a post we put together for Freshline, okay? Now in this post, what does the post say?
You could go, if you could ride anywhere. Okay.
It's a question, all right? You guys clear?
Yeah.
I'm asking my audience, what do they want? Now we go through and we had like a bajillion comments on here, and we just said, okay, where are most of these people saying they want to ride? It was all around the world. So we had a number in Indonesia. We already went to Indonesia. Not Indonesia. We went to Thailand. And then we had a whole bunch of these comments said South America, right? So we asked our audience what we want. What's the next post I put up?
South America.
Does this make sense to you guys?
Yep.
Now accepting applications for Peru. We start our campaign for Peru, okay? We start our campaign for Peru, and what does that look like? Here's what a campaign looks like on Instagram. One common theme that I keep seeing that comes up with small business owners is they post one announcement where it's like, hey, we're announcing we're coming out with this new product or this new feature or this, whatever, this course, this service. They post one post and they're disappointed because they didn't get results, okay? We actually just similar, we kind of went through this with Nomiya, which is we work at the Japanese restaurant up in Edmonton, or chain, I guess, well not a chain, she's got three of them. And she wanted to do this event. And in doing this event, they posted, I don't know how many times they posted. It wasn't only one, it was like 3 or something like that, I don't remember.
For the Instagram, for the first event or second?
For the first event.
It would have been 5.
5? Yeah.
The build up.
Actually, they're probably not even the greatest example of someone that did this poorly, because theirs was, I think, more so in the offer. But
yeah.
But the point is that we want to, if we have something that we want to sell, we want to make it very, very clear to our audience that the thing that we're selling is important and they need to pay attention because it's a good thing and it's a good deal. And there's a timeline on it. There should always be a timeline on it. There is 2 things that always go into our sales, which is, anybody guess? Scarcity and urgency. Scarcity and urgency always go into the thing that we're selling. So here's what this looks like on Instagram. This is what it looks like for us. This is what, it's a little bit blurry because this was just a screenshot that I took and I didn't make it an awesome photo. But this is what it looked like for us. I literally went on here with a stylus pen and just wrote, good man wanted, read details below, right? Now for our audience, they get it. This is a very rough and tumble kind of the rugged style, right? And then we did a series of 10 posts in a row. 10 posts in a row. So this was the first one. What did it actually look like here? We gave right away, we gave the last day for applications, so we created that urgency. Yeah. And then somewhere further down, I'm sure we have some kind of scarcity, which is saying we're only taking, I don't know, whatever it was, 2 new prospects or something. And we let them know exactly what we're looking for, in this case because we're recruiting. And we let them know how to get it, so by clicking the link in our bio, right? And then we have a series of 10 posts, okay? So as we go through, every day there's a new post, and we're emphasizing the importance of this campaign. Does that make sense? Of our recruitment campaign. So what goes into every single one of these posts? Every post looks a little bit like this. We've always got a countdown to the number of days left that they can apply. We are talking about what it is we're actually selling, again. And then for us, we've always got a question and answer of the day, which is every day we're overcoming a new objection. Okay? Now, if we're doing this properly, we get down to the last day, 12 hours left to apply. We're really harping on that scarcity there. And we are telling them exactly what to do to get the thing. And if we're doing this right, what it should look like for us, we were sending people to just a Google form for applications. So if we're doing this right, then you should every day or every few hours towards the end, you should see like Google Forms, it's got 4. We've got new member applications coming into our email. And on the backside, on the form side, boom, we put this campaign together and we got 105 people applying to go on these trips. And these trips, they cost money. People know that. But like you have to have a budget between $3,000 to $5,000 in order to go on this trip. We have 105 people saying, yes, I want in, understanding that that's what they're getting themselves into. Make sense?
Yeah.
So now, with Freshline, we have made sales with this. We're averaging around $100,000 a year as a side business, side hobby thing, and all of it has been through Instagram, and none of it has been paid. Starting to make a little bit of sense?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But we would never get that if we didn't understand engagement, both with Freshline as well as now looking at, okay, how do we engage through the Rugged Gen? Because we're drawing those guys in through both accounts now.
So are you using the Rugged Gen to also get people for Freshline, or are you just
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
So
when
you're
we're
linking to
recruiting,
Freshline, or are you just advertising?
what's that?
Are you linking to Freshline, or are you putting the application on Rugged Gen as well?
You're not selling from Rugged Gen to anything.
Yeah, we are. I'll put the application right in the Rugged Gen.
Oh,
and be
For,
like,
for this though.
yeah, I'll say, hey, you know what?
We partnered up
Uh,
with Freshline,
we've-
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we've got an international motorcycle club.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just I'll just say we're recruiting new prospects for the club, which means you gotta come on the trip. If you're interested, here's the link in the bio. We reuse the same basically recruitment
Cool.
campaign as we do in Freshline.
Should I announce the opening of my online school like today? Would you do that?
no.
Before you launch a course?
I would
Just
announce
as
it,
a
but
lead?
when you say should I announce it today? Yes, I believe in getting on marketing as soon as possible, but I also believe in having a plan.
Yeah,
So as long as you got a plan, a strategy, then yeah, sure you can.
I have no strategy.
Okay. So
My strategy is your strategy, which
Yeah.
is the keynote thing. So I guess I need to start announcing yours.
Yeah. What we did do with this Japanese restaurant, so they had created a number of posts. Their offer was a little bit flat. So what we did the second time around, the first time around completely flopped, right?
Yeah, because they didn't tell what the event or what they're doing.
There was just a lot of things that flopped. So they had this event, they didn't sell hardly any tickets to it. They were really disappointed with the results that they got. We went in, we actually came up with a strategy, and this time around,
Built up the anticipation.
yeah,
Yeah.
this time around we built up anticipation. We didn't even tell them what was coming in those first posts. We said we've got this big thing coming. We create that
Stay tuned.
curiosity and anticipation. And then we announced it, and then we announced what it was they were getting, and then every day we were talking about the event. And when is the event?
Oh, I don't know when.
I think it's first part of May.
Yeah,
Or
it's
end of
coming.
April.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna ask
And-
me how fast they sold it.
That is a good question. How fast did they
I
sell?
did. Drum roll. 2.5 days.
2.5 days.
Not
So
bad.
before they were advertising for a month or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Roughly a month. They had hardly any ticket sales. They had to cancel the event. The
They're
next
already
time.
starting to get pre-bookings for the next event too.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. So there's a strategy. So when you say, hey, should I just post something today? No, that's what they did,
Yeah.
and it fell flat on their face. So make sure you've got a plan in place. We're like, okay, this is our plan. We know exactly what the offer is going to be, and we know that every day we're going to post something. So I'm pretty bad with Instagram. I'm pretty lazy where I don't necessarily have posts lined up for the future unless I'm running a campaign, in which case now I've got all 10 of my posts lined up and I know exactly what's going to be posted every day.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Plus, I got a VIP card.
So probably like a social media campaign would be better for the launch in September, right? Because I'm doing a beta first from the keynote event.
You can still do a beta. You can say, hey, I'm running a beta. You can announce that. That's cool. I would actually recommend you do that. All I'm saying is you can announce it just before you post a post right now in the next 5 minutes. Just think a little bit about what your
Yeah.
post series is going to look like
Yeah.
and what your offer is going to look like. Yeah.
So how do you get to this part with the form? Okay, so you have that on your social media.
Yeah. All this is, they don't get wrapped up in the form. The form really for me is just my version of a landing page. It's just, what do I want that person to do? So knowing what
Okay.
that action is. For me, this form was a Google form, or is a Google form. Are you familiar with Google Forms?
Yeah, but no, I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. So I have an offer, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm creating hype on it. So like 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, but like, you know, deadline to register for this.
Yeah.
Or deadline
To
for
apply,
me
whatever.
offering this type of
Yeah.
session as this.
Yeah.
So then I do, you know, my posts there and stuff like that. So then, but how do I get their information? information, do I say link in bio, like, or
Yep.
click, book an appointment on my website?
Well, what did we say here? Click on the link in our bio. What is the
Okay,
link?
yeah.
The link just goes directly to the form.
Okay, and then that's, okay, hang on,
So click on the link in our bio, and the link goes directly to the form. Quick note on the bio, guys. Your Instagram bio, ideally, if it's you that's selling, put your name in there. So who is it that is actually running the account? And then give that person a reason to follow the account. You should have a reason to follow the account. So follow us for career tips, for instance, right? Or,
Oh, yeah, I like that.
okay, just give them a reason to follow.
Don't have time to do career tips lately, but
Whatever that reason is.
previous career tips.
okay, so if I'm doing landing pages, for example, then I would have to change the link that's attached to here.
Yeah, the link in our bio changes all the time, depending on where we want to direct them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because if we're not recruiting, the link in the bio is going to change to just our website, as
Yes.
opposed to. It should be an opt-in. In a perfect world, they would stay always as an opt-in, so we always have an opportunity to capture information. But it would be hypocritical for me to say you have to have it, and we don't.
Yeah.
We should, but we don't.
This is where my confusion comes in. My confusion comes in having various, various offerings, right? Because like, I'm a career coach.
Yeah.
So there's a coaching element to this, right? That could be face-to-face or over the phone.
Yeah,
Then there is the school,
yeah.
which is a different market. That is actually the market of career coaches and not of the jobs.
To me, that's completely different markets. You
Yeah.
might not like this, but it's actually different accounts.
Oh, like totally different accounts.
Yeah, because you got completely different followers, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
So to me, it would
But
be
the-
different accounts.
The interesting thing is though, is that career coaches are the ones who follow purposeful careers on any of my social
Okay.
platforms.
So then evolve that into the career coaches, and you might have a separate, potentially you might have a separate account for the people that are looking for careers.
I don't know, because it's job seekers, you know what they do? They search, right? And then it's a Google Ads situation for job seekers. I find the career, people with career businesses are the ones who follow me.
Yeah.
So I think that the market for
Which
career
is-
coaches is actually social media, but the market for job seekers is Google Ads.
Okay.
And I'm not really going after job seekers because I have them fed.
I was just gonna say it's not your market that you're selling to anyway. So just
Not-
cater your whole
not-
account towards the career.
Yeah, like at
people.
some,
I mean, the career counselor or whatever.
yeah,
Coaches.
at some point it will, because I've got a partnership for the coaching side. But, yeah, but at some point in time, I wanna break away from them, cause it's under their brand.
Yeah.
And actually do coaching more under my brand. But it's career coaches follow career coaches on the social media platforms.
Okay, so I'm gonna say go for the audience that's gonna give you the majority of your revenue. Like with Cozy Cabins, for instance,
Okay.
we have multiple imaginary friends, but I post for Val because she is 80% of our revenue.
Yeah,
And then I don't worry about the other 20%. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm posting for Val, that's it. I'm not gonna create an account for the other ones.
yeah,
Because, yeah, I don't care. But if you have distinct different areas of your business, let's just say hypothetically that weddings were something that I wanted to get massive in, then I would actually create a separate account for weddings. I don't want to,
so
but I
then
could.
you're working two Instagram accounts, then.
Well, like, look at me personally. All these accounts that I've showed you
Yeah.
today, if you go onto my Instagram, I've got like 5 accounts that I'm managing. So, yeah, sometimes you need to have multiple
And your
accounts.
name is attached to each of those accounts?
Not necessarily, like not for Cozy Cabins,
Yeah.
not for Freshline directly, but for the other accounts, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, but you pass it off. Like Freshline, for instance, I pass that off
Yeah.
to somebody else. Parts of the Rugged Jet I pass off. Cozy I can pass off. So I have a formula. I give it to somebody and say, this is
Yeah.
my formula. That's why we were doing all this today, is to come up with a formula so I can pass off those accounts because I can't manage like 6 accounts well.
So when we get to the point of passing off, do you guys give us kind of some ideas on how to pass it off and who to pass it off to?
What do you
Like, do you do a virtual assistant for that one, or are you
Yeah, you can have a virtual assistant, depends on the business, so you can have a virtual assistant that does it, which I might recommend, or if you, like, depends on the business, like if you have somebody else internally that can do it, then you can pass it off to them. Like for Cozy, it'll usually be somebody that summer, like we don't have somebody yet this summer, but we will. Whoever's coming up this summer is gonna be a social media or person,
Yeah.
and then I give them the formula, I'm like, here, go wild with the phone.
You said it's 11 or so things you've got for Cozy?
That's just what happens to come up. Actually, for Cozy it's a little bit different, it's actually less, so.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, fairly simple for us.
So you just give them the formula, they're not necessarily a social media marketing person.
No, and here's the reality.
I like that idea.
Every single time I've talked to a business that's hired a social media marketing person,
Yeah.
that social media marketing person, every single time, and I'm not saying they don't exist, I'm sure they do, but every single time that someone's talked to me about it, they're frustrated because they're paying that person and that person is not able to cover their own salary, their own paycheck.
Right.
Which I'm like, if you actually know what you're doing in social media, you should be able to get sales in social media and then justify that position.
Yeah.
Whereas
Exactly.
most of the time, 90%, well actually 100% of the time that I've interacted, had a conversation, that's never the case. They're like, oh, we hired somebody to do our social media and they got us exposure, but it never has turned into money in the bank, right? We want to put money in the bank, do we not?
Yeah.
Yeah? So you don't, in my opinion, I would never, this is me, I would never hire a social media person because I've seen hundreds of examples now of people that know how to post a picture on Instagram, they know the platform, but they have no concept of marketing strategy,
Like your Shell example.
Exactly.
That'll be a social media marketing person.
right? Yeah, exactly. Someone's hired probably at friggin' $60,000 a year to post shitty photos for Shell, and it doesn't do anything for them. So, well, I mean, they would argue like, oh, we get exposure, we're on
Yeah.
social media, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you could hire someone for a fraction of that and actually make money with it. So in my opinion, this is the whole point of this course, guys, is we want to teach you how to be a marketing strategist. So you don't have to hire a social media person
Yeah.
that's expensive and doesn't know what they're doing. I can hire a virtual assistant, raw, that has the right attitude,
Yeah.
and I can teach them this strategy I just showed you guys today, and you're gonna make a lot more money with it than you would if you hired an agency.
So the recipe for Cozy, if it's very simple,
Yeah.
is it basically like every week get a picture of a cabin, or every week get a picture of a fire? Like how simple is this recipe?
Yeah, so we have if we have a formula, it's like, hey, we need a picture of wildlife, lake with a boat, cabin with a lake, cabin in the meadow, close up of flowers, like we have our patterns, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey, you already know what the next post is gonna be, just follow the pattern. And now I need
do
you to
you
post
do it
another picture.
randomly, or do you just like do it synchronous, like serially?
We're a little bit more random with it, but the strategy moving forward is just,
Here are the 7 groups.
Yeah.
Please stay within these 7 confines.
Yeah,
If
and
you have
if
a neat
they
idea,
find-
talk to Eric.
yeah, if they find a really good picture, like if they're like, oh, they found a picture of maybe a hummingbird in a nest with an egg or something, you can either schedule it or I'm okay, as long as it fits within the pattern, I'm like, fine, go ahead and
And
post it.
is that like
But
pictures they found online or actual content from Cozy?
for Cozy, it's all
Local.
custom content, custom curated content. The other thing that helps if we have that pattern is, I talked about the social media influencers, I can give them the patterns we found as well.
Right.
And be like, here's what we're looking for in photos. It gives them direction.
Yeah.
So you guys, you can be creative, you can pick pictures of whatever you want, but here's what we have found works well. If you want some ideas for inspiration, what that looks like.
Well, and a photographer, if you even hired somebody, right, they could go and take a day or whatever and just take a bunch
I'm-
of pictures, but you have.
I'm using pictures that are 2 years old for my Instagram because
Oh, yeah.
I've got just like so many random pictures that have been taken at cruises and like when we're doing stuff and
That's
random,
awesome.
and I'm just going through it and I'm like, oh, this is a nice picture.
Yeah, you've got content.
Yeah, we're using
Got
pictures,
content.
we're using pictures from 5 years ago in our.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As
As
long
long
as
as
it
it
looks
fits the
good.
pattern, yeah.
Well, now
And you can
Okay.
even use some of the same pictures. Like if you used that for a Facebook thing 2 years ago, but it wasn't ever on Instagram, you can just use it again.
Yeah. Okay, so I got one more point for you guys.
You can reuse content too. My daughter's just reusing content.
Work with me.
It's a very good arrow.
Okay, so if we are doing our formula, if we've actually figured out this formula right,
Yeah.
what we're really doing, sneaky surprise for you guys, is we're actually building a movement. Building a movement within our business. Have I talked about movements at all for any of you guys?
Movements?
Not
No?
that
Okay, cool. So let's talk briefly about the 3 ingredients you need to start a movement. Who was taking notes for this session? Okay, what was the first secret I gave you?
You
Something
need,
about-
you need to know who you are.
Oh, yeah.
You know who you are,
I
right?
thought that, yeah, but
Okay.
also finding out what brands other people identify with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but to start with, you need to know who we are. So the first element that plays into a movement, you have to have what we call the attractive character. And this is as a person that they're connecting with. Okay? Now, what are some of the characteristics that make up an attractive character? I'm going to write them down, especially because we're short on time, but you guys can write these down.
Background stories, isn't
Yeah, background story is one. Oh, yeah, we went through this with you guys last session, didn't we?
it? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Some of it.
Yeah. So they have to have a backstory. Okay? So there's a little bit of history to that person, how they evolved. Another thing that plays into an attractive character are often they will tell stories they'll tell stories in general, but they're good at telling stories as parables or as analogies. An example of what that looks like is if you're telling a story as an analogy, then you're going to use the term "it's like." Because now, what's the difference between telling just a story and using an analogy? When we're starting to use an analogy, what we're doing is we're using something that that person is already understands, and we're using that to create some kind of emotion for them. So, an example of that would be sometimes when I'm talking with business owners before they've started working with us, I might say something like, "Hey, you know, when you're a business owner, sometimes it feels like you're in the middle of a jungle and all you've got is a machete and you don't even know what direction you're going. You're just hacking your way through the jungle, just trying to figure out a path, figure your way out, right? Well, when you come aboard, when you work with us, it's a little bit like you've hacked your way into a clearing and you've realized that in that clearing, they already hacked a path out of there for you. So now all you need to do is just follow that path. What am I doing here? I'm creating now an emotion for them where they're like, I
Nice
get it.
imagery.
Yeah. Okay. So we're playing on the parables and analogies. What else goes into an attractive character? Attractive characters are polarized. So they have a strong sense of what they stand for and what or who they stand against. I always look at Steve because I'm like, what else am I missing? Yeah?
Relatable.
Yeah, sorry. They are relatable. Thanks, Steve.
I'm here.
You're relatable.
Yeah, they're relatable. Okay? You can put, next to relatable, you can put flaws. It's actually a good thing to talk about your own mistakes, your own flaws, because otherwise people are like, oh, that person, they're not relatable because everything goes easy for them and it doesn't for me, when that's not the reality really for anyone. Okay? So that's what plays into an attractive character. The next point that you have to have in a movement is your cause. So what's, for my notes, what did I give you guys for your notes as the second secret?
Hack the patterns.
No.
For the secret of the, I'm not sure.
What's this say?
See, the 3 steps to start a movement is first is that attractive character, second is that cause.
Oh yeah, what's your vision for the future?
What's your vision for the future? Yeah, that's it. So cause is your vision for the future. Okay?
What is the title of this? Is it creating a movement?
Yeah.
To start a movement.
So what I write down here, your vision for the future, this is where you say, what's my problem with the current reality? And what do I see as an alternative for the future?
I think you said in that keynote.
Yeah, it could be. Okay. What's my problem with the current reality, and what do I see as my vision for the future? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. And the third point that you have to have in your movement is you've got to have a new opportunity. A new opportunity, this is where you look at what's actually going on and you're saying the way that everybody's trying is no longer working, so we have to try something new. Okay? If you have these three things, this, is the foundation that goes into your movement. So, a couple examples for you guys, just to give you context, because I know when I was studying this stuff, the context helped me a bunch. So let's talk about some big movements that we all are aware of. Big one, any religion I would consider to be a fairly massive movement. You guys agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's one religion in North America that we're relatively well versed with? Christianity, okay? So stick with me for a sec. Does Christianity have an attractive character?
Yeah.
Who is it?
Jesus.
Jesus, right? Jesus. Yeah, so we got Jesus. Now take a look at what goes into an attractive character. Did Jesus have any of these characteristics that we have written down there as notes? Does he have a backstory?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the whole virgin birth thing going on. Does he, what's the next thing? Does he talk in parables?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Allegory even.
pretty clear that that's a big part of where that came from. What else is a characteristic there? Is he polarized?
Yeah.
Jesus was polarized. There's a reason that they threw him on the cross, okay?
Right.
What's the last one?
Flaws, relatable.
Is he relatable? So Jesus didn't have flaws. He's my one example that doesn't have flaws per se, but is he relatable?
Yeah.
The whole story behind Jesus is God sent Jesus as human form for us to have somebody to relate to, right? So he's relatable. Cause. Did you just have a cause? Did he have a vision for the future? Well, I don't expect you guys to know all this necessarily if you haven't studied religion, but there's the Old Testament and there's the New Testament. You might have heard that, right? The Old Testament was like, this is God's old laws. Jesus came along and said, we're scrapping the old laws, I've got a new way of living, okay? So that's his vision for the future. No longer are we doing an eye for an eye, now we gotta forgive your neighbor philosophy. Then, new opportunity. Does Jesus bring a new opportunity? Well, back in the Old Testament, how did people get into heaven? They got into heaven through sacrificing their crops or their animals, right? Now Jesus said, you don't need to sacrifice your crops and your animals anymore. All you need to do is believe that I am the sacrifice, so believe in me, and that's your new way of getting into heaven. It's a new way of doing this, right? I'll give you guys another example here. Gandhi. So, Gandhi. I'm not going to go into all the different points, but Gandhi checks off each one of those boxes. What was Gandhi's cause? What was his vision for the future?
I think he wanted the English out of India.
Exactly, right? So Gandhi was in India. At the time, India was British occupied. Gandhi said, we've got British in India. My vision for the future includes no British in India, okay? That's his vision for the future. This is a current reality. I don't like it. Here's what I see as a vision for the future. What was his new opportunity? This is really what defined Gandhi.
Oh, what was it? Was it the?
No violence.
Yeah, nonviolent communication and
Nonviolent revolution.
Yeah, nonviolent resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what did Gandhi do? He looked at every nation that the British had occupied up until that point, and he said, every time that the natives of that land tried to take the land back from the British, how did that work out for them?
Not so great.
Typically not so great. Maybe with the exception of New Zealand. Other than that, basically everybody else got annihilated, right? So Gandhi said, that's probably not the best way of trying to take back this country. So he said, rather than having a violent revolution, let's try something different that the British don't know how to deal with, because they've developed a formula for how to deal with angry natives. So he came up with a non-violent revolution, and it worked for them. But actually, through a series of events, they were able to take back India. Okay? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
The last example I'll give, just so you understand the power of a cause, doesn't always need to be positive. This information is so powerful you can actually use it in any context, positive or negative. Last one that we're relatively familiar with, World War II and Hitler. So Hitler's an attractive character.
So attractive.
Does he check off all the things in the boxes? He does. There was a reason that Hitler rose to power. There's a lot of things he did right in the beginning. He was a very charismatic leader, was amazing at telling stories and parables. Was he relatable? Yeah, he was super relatable. He fought in World War I. He understood poverty along with the German people. He got it. He was one of them, right? What was his cause, his vision for the future? Well, coming out of World War I, Germany was in massive debt.
Yeah, he wanted the life to rise again.
Yeah, he wanted power for the German people. And what was cutting German people off from power? Well, they had all this war debt that they were having to pay back. And along with that hyperinflation, there was no way that they were going to be able to pay off this debt with the current situation that they had. So current reality, they're in massive debt, and they really don't have any in the near future, any way out of it. So what was his new opportunity? Well, through a variety of circumstances, so I'm going to try and simplify this, I'm oversimplifying it, but who were they paying those debts off to?
The banks.
The banks. Who owned the banks? The Jews. So he said, well, rather than paying the debtors off, what if we just find another way to eliminate them? right?
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
But did that work for, like, did the movement happen? Did things
Yeah,
happen?
they got pretty active.
It started a movement, a revolution in a different way, right? So, as long as you have these three elements, we can create a movement. Now, I'm talking about this on a national scale so that you guys have context, but you can create mini movements. You can create a movement within your family, even,
Yeah, you can.
right? Because you can say, hey, how can I be relatable to my kids? What's the problem that we're currently facing as a family together? And what's my vision for the future? And then, what am I going to do that we haven't tried yet? Because clearly, whatever we have been trying hasn't been working, right?
Is,
Which is counseling.
right.
Like, that's actually the premises of career counseling, finding a job, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like, what are you not doing, what are you doing that's not working?
yeah.
How are
So
you
we're gonna try
supporting?
something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So so now we're taking this from, yes, we can do it national, or we can do it in our family, or we can do it in our business, right? We can absolutely present this to our clients, our audience, and our business. And if we're doing this properly through social media, what we're really doing on a subconscious level is this. Okay? Does this make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so we're definitely over time. We're 8 minutes over time, which is not as bad as others. Yeah.